Hey guys, how's it hanging? We're doing a late night episode here. I tried to get this out before, but computer fucked up. So I want to make a couple of changes to the Pauper Cube because Eternal Masters just came out on Friday, so about 4 days ago. And I was looking through a bunch of the downshifted cards to common, and I found some cool things. So I just wanted to go through some of the changes that I made. But just before Eternal Masters was released, I made a quick update to green. I took out Walker of the Grove and Stampeding Elk Herd. Um, More for the mid-range and late game, and I put in two aggro cards, Jungle Lion. It can't block, well, it can't intercept from the old portal wording, and Nettle Sentinel. So both 2 power 1 drops. So I think that's gonna power out green a little bit more. I said in the other episodes that I wasn't sure where green was going, but I think this makes a lot more sense now that I'm looking at the cards. I had cards like what do you call it? Wild Natical? How the hell do you pronounce it? Wild Nakatal? Wild Nakatl. Right, there you go. Crazy. Anyways, there's stuff like Basking Root Walla, Young Wolf, the all the snakes. I have 3 snakes. I have the Ambush Viper, Maraboa, and the River Boa. So I wanted to kind of support that white-green tokens strategy. Also, red-green does work, or red-green beatdown. So, anyways, there you go. So I just want to support that a little bit. So I made those 2 changes, and I don't think the cube it hurts the mid game that much for green. Um, so yeah, let's just get to the Eternal Masters changes. I didn't get to play Eternal Masters yet, and I don't know if I will, because of the price point. It's pretty expensive. So here in Canada, it's about, I think the regular price is about $50 plus tax for a draft, and booster boxes on like face to face are around $400 plus tax. So just retarded. I might as well just buy the cards that I want if I was gonna, you know, if I was actually gonna invest. So, anyways, Eternal Masters brought us some really cool Pauper cards. So on the left here, you'll see that these are cards that I took out, and then on the right are cards that I put in. So I took out Saltari Trooper. It's something I want to take out before. I want to take out all the shadow cards. There's only one more card that has shadow in the cube, I believe, and it's Saltari Emissary. And it doesn't have shadow all the time, but you could give it shadow for 1 white, I think. Let's see what it is. It's called the Saltari Emissary, I'm fairly certain. Yeah, that's it. Boop, 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 boop. There you go. So 2 to cast 2/1, and you give it shadow until end of turn for 1 white. So it's the last remaining shadow creature. I want to take the shadow out because, well, first of all, I think that Staborsky took shadow out of his cube just before I decided to part ways. But I did like the idea because I felt like shadow wasn't very interactive in the cube. So I put in Mistral Charger. What this does is it gives you the same power, and it gives you evasion. The only thing is that the Mistral Charger is something you could interact with a lot more. You can also block with it, whereas the Saltari Trooper you couldn't block with it. It's just, you attack in and they go through. Like, you can't actually do anything with the Saltari Trooper. You're just attacking. That's it. So I feel like Mistral Charger, even though it's a very simple card, it brings a lot more to the game. I took out Youthful Knight for Elite Vanguard. I was really happy when they spoiled Elite Vanguard because it's a 1-drop 2/1 for white, which is pretty crazy. Um, there are the only 1-drop 2-power creatures are mostly in green, with not much downside. Red has some, but they can't attack alone. White has the Pegasus, but it can't attack alone. So Elite Vanguard is a pretty cool step up from what we're used to in Pauper. And like I said, I took out Youthful Knight because I felt like a 2 to cast 2/1 first strike. It's for sure good, but I couldn't see any other card to really take out for the Vanguard. I didn't want to make the cube. I wanted to take the thing out of the 2-drop slot because I had so many 2-drops. Maybe I could just look at the curve quickly. So right now I have 13 2-drops, and I had 14 before this. So I didn't want to take out of the 3-drop slot, and the 4 and 5 is are already very minimal. So I still want to have the option of having not mid-range, but more like there is a small control white deck, and I just want to keep it open to have that option if ever possible. I know white is very streamlined towards aggro, but anyways. So I thought it was a good thing to take out the 2 to cast 2/1 because we have several 2 to cast 3/1s. Daring Skyjack, Dromoka Warrior, Bladed Six Pride. They're all 2 to cast 3-drops. Lone Missionary, it gives you 4 life, so it can get you out of the game. It's kind of on that long game strategy I was talking to you about. Skyfisher, just a great card. The Nomad is just, if you put equipment on it, it blocks forever, attacks forever. The Solitary Emissary, I guess the Solitary Emissary could have been something, but I think that it has a lot more play to it than the First Striker. Syndic of Tides, White Man Lion is in the bounce, white-blue bounce deck. Alright, so I took out Windsteed Rider for Ballynock Cohort. So in one slot here we gained a flyer and over a ground troop. Here we lost a flyer over a ground troop. So the Ballynock Cohort I really like. It's a 3/3 for 3. It's always going to be a 3/3, almost always, with first strike. Even if it was a 2/2 with first strike for 3, it's not bad. But that 3rd power and toughness really boosts this card up enough for me to want to include it. I think it's a really good finisher in the white aggro deck. Wingsteed Rider was kind of weird, in a weird place. I really liked the card in Theros Limited. I thought it was really, really powerful, and that's why I originally included it. But I was kind of blindsided by the limited format of Theros, because Wingsteed Rider has just been a kind of meh card ever since I've included it in the cube. So there aren't a lot of things that target it. The things that target creatures are mostly removal. There are no enchantments, and there are a few creature enchantments with Bestow, but there aren't many. There's probably like, I don't know, a handful, maybe 3, 4 maximum. So yeah, I think Ballynock Cohort is a great inclusion. Alright, so here's a little bit of a weird one. When we move on to blue, a Griff Vanguard, I took it out for Peregrine Drake, and this is just like a trial. I don't know if this is going to be something that I'm going to do for keep it permanent, but the Peregrine Drake allows you to untap lands, so it's kind of free, kind of later in the game. So you could play your over expensive creature, but you still have your counter up or your tempo play up. So it also fits into the spells matters decks and the small storm deck that I have, small storm archetype that it kind of exists, but I haven't seen it come out yet. So, anyways, we're gonna see if this is like I said, it's not a permanent thing. It's kind of a trial because I do believe Griff Vanguard is a very good card. 3/2 flyer for 5 with, and you get to and it replaces itself. It's just a great card. So, um, Sign in Blood and Night's Whisper. So this was I had a big conversation. Well, conversation. I had a message board on with the WAD group, and I asked them what they thought about Sign in Blood, what they thought about Night's Whisper, and what they thought about Read the Bones. And I got every single answer possible. So, my idea was that I wanted to keep 2 of the 3 cards, right? So at the moment I had Sign in Blood and Read the Bones, and then Night's Whisper, it just went. They just changed it to uncommon card, right? So yeah, it is now a common card. Sorry. So I wanted to keep 2 of the 3. So it was just a question of which combination. And I decided to, well, some people said that I should keep Sign in Blood and Night's Whisper, kick out Read the Bones because Read the Bones is slower. Some people said Sign in Blood, and keep Sign in Blood and Read the Bones because Sign in Blood you can ping, you could shock someone. I mean, the only difference between Sign in Blood and Night's Whisper is the color intensity. And the fact that Sign in Blood, you can make your opponent, draw the cards and lose 2 life. That's the big difference between them. In my experience playing with Sign in Blood, in my experience playing against Sign in Blood, I've never seen anyone turn Sign in Blood into a shock to the face. Never. I've heard about it being done, but I've never seen it being done. So Night's Whisper to me was just more of a color efficient card. So I've played with Sign in Blood, and you're playing 2 colors and you just don't draw the second black mana. Like that happens all the time. Also, Night's Whisper is much more splashable, so I just feel like it's a better card. There isn't a whole lot of fixing in the cube, so what I decided to do is just keep Night's Whisper. Take Sign in Blood out, get Night's Whisper. Sure, you can't aim it at your opponent's face, but you can more reasonably cast it. It's much more of a reliable card this way, I feel. Another card that's very, very close that I switched out was Imperiosaur versus Emperor Crocodile. Sorry, I can't speak. It's past midnight, so I'm getting tired. Imperiosaur, it's a 5/5 for 4, like Emperor Crocodile. You have to use basic mana though to cast it, and Emperor Crocodile, you need to have another creature or you sacrifice it. So they both have downsides. The thing about that I didn't like about Imperiosaur is that, well, one, its drawback is actually very, very. It's a high drawback, right? You could technically get out Emperor Crocodile on turn 3 with Llanowar Elves, right? Whereas Imperiosaur, it's turn 4 minimum, right? Also, the downside of not having creatures. I mean, you're all in green. You're gonna have creatures. Green and white have the most creatures in the cube. So Emperor Crocodile just kind of seemed to be better. Also, the color. If you notice the color, the cost of the 2 creatures. The Imperiosaur is much more color intensive, whereas Emperor Crocodile is not. And I'm more inclined to go towards less restrictive color casting. So that one's that. Warflare, I took it out for Rally the Peasants. Rally the Peasants is just a bonkers card. So a great finisher. Give all your creatures +4/+0 for for 6 mana. Or you could just use it on a whim for 3 mana as a Trumpet Blast. Warflare is a good card for sure, there's no doubt, but I think I saw it being played once in all the time I've played the cube. Well, since I've had it in the cube, which has been Well, it's been well over a year. I've had Warflare in the cube, so was it? It's over a year. Well, it's from Fate Reforged, right? So Fate Reforged was last year around Christmas time, holidays, I guess. Yeah, so it's been about a year. But I think like if you hands down, Rally the Peasants is better than Warflare because of the one less mana cost. It's less mana intensive in a sense, and the flashback allows you to, you know, get extra value out of it. So, uh, another switch for the aggro, and this one is to help out Grill aggro, is to took out Zertos Swine for Crit Ape. Now everyone knows Crit Ape's a 2/3 when you have a forest, and it's super bonkers. It's pretty crazy good on turn 1, right? On turn 2 when you can drop a forest after you have cast it. So Zertos Swine was always a fine card. It was always kind of like a finisher-ish. Blood Rush was a fine mechanic, but it always feels kind of cheap. Like not cheap, not worth a card. I don't know. It was pretty good. I mean, 3 to cast on one a creature is attacking, and you give it +5/+4. It's a nice little trick. But like I said, I needed to make a change, and I wanted to reduce the curve again for those two color pairs. So I put in Crit Ape. So there you go. None of these changes really work towards the graveyard changes that I keep on talking about. As I mentioned before, I made the big Innistrad change, Shadows over Innistrad change. I recently took out, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I took out Preacher Leech for Shambling Shell, just for the Dredge ability. I know Preacher Leech is a good card, no doubt, but like I said, I'm looking to be building the cube around archetypes instead of just raw power cards. So that's where I'm going with that. Hopefully, Eldritch Moon is like a month away. Pre-release the 16th or the 17th, so that's about yeah, it's a good just over 30 days from now. And so previews should be coming out soon. I'm really excited. I hope they keep on going with the graveyard because that's something that and Liliana is supposed to be there. So I have a hard time believing that they're not gonna be working on graveyard strategies and archetypes. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you when the previews start coming out or when the set has released. Take care.